Whispering Tactician, back with another video. Now before we get started, we have such a jam-packed video for you today. Please like the video as it helps the channel so much. Comment down below what you thought of the game. I'm so intrigued to know. And subscribe, hit bell notifications, so much more similar content coming up. Anyway, this is the video of how England beats Germany. A very interesting video. Let's get into it. So, for England's starting lineup, they chose to revert to a 3-4-3 shape with three centre backs: Stones, Maguire, Walker, and then Trippier and Shaw as wing backs. And they had Rice and Phillips in midfield, and then Sterling, Saka, and Kane up top, acting as a three up top. A very interesting formation to use against Germany. We will analyse all of this later on, but I was very happy that Southgate actually chose a back five. Obviously, tactical fluidity and what have you. Anyway, let's analyse how Germany lined up. Now, Germany lined up in their normal formation in the 3-4-3 or 5 at the back, however you want to see it. Rudiger, Hummels, Ginter as centre backs, Gosens and Kimmich as wing backs, as they have been doing the whole tournament. Gross and Goretzka in the middle. I think Gundogan was dropped for this game, if I'm not mistaken. And then Havertz, Werner, and Muller as a front three. And essentially they interchanged a lot, but Havertz was almost stuck to the right hand side. Defensively, kind of changed in position. But anyway, we'll analyse all of this going into the game. So, as you can see, the first pitch you can see is England on the ball. Now, England, their build-up play was very simple. Three at the back. Very easy to kind of see exactly how they tried to build up. The wing backs were a bit high up, but you had the two midfielders in the centre. Now, what I want to focus on here is, as England have the ball, look at how narrow Germany are. Germany almost cutting the passing lanes off into the middle. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put some lines in between them just so that you can see how narrow they are. You can also see that they're almost blocking off the passing lanes to the two midfielders, whilst also trying to effectively press and make sure there's no holes left in their defensive shape. So that's how Germany set up. And when England were attacking, almost, England went man for man with their wing backs. As you can see, Shaw is closing down Kimmich. Now Kimmich is the right wing back, and he's on Shaw's side, so Shaw goes to engage him high up. And essentially, this is exactly what was happening on the other side with Trippier, and Kimmich also had the responsibility of marking Shaw. Now, the other photo that you'll see now, you'll see that Raheem Sterling is closing down Ginter. Luke Shaw is very high up. He's still on Kimmich because that's his man. And Declan Rice is on Goretzka. Goretzka is on his side of the field. So the two men in midfield again went man for man. So all over the pitch there was instances of players going man for man. Now this is another instance of how I wanted to show England's build-up play. England, again, two midfielders to offer support for passing lanes, but again, Germany very, very narrow. Now as you can see, Havertz has gone out to the right hand side because the ball was switched over from there, and he goes and plugged the gap. But I wanted to focus on something else, which was more important for Germany. Now Germany, most of the time stuck to their five at the back, three centre backs, wing backs going forward. But you can see they were very high up in this instance. They were almost trying to squeeze England into their half, and that is a trademark of how Germany were playing throughout the game. Again, in this situation, you can see that Germany are trying to almost play through the flanks, trying to get their wing backs on the ball, but England have such a good defensive shape and have Phillips shuttling over as well that this is not allowed this example that we have on the screen now is an example of, again, something that Germany tried to do. Those three forwards were very, very pivotal. Declan Rice is now on the ball. John Stones is giving the ball, and he's been crowded out almost. Now he managed to get out of the situation, but it's just it set the pace for the rest of the game. England had to be very wary of losing the ball high up, because this is what happened a lot of the time because of how Germany were defending, and very narrow as well. Now Declan Rice manages to get out, but eventually he gets tackled by Gross, as you can see on the screen. Now at this point in time, England are trying to transition into an attack, but this is an inconvenience, or an inconvenience is caused by Gross because he tackles him, and you eventually see that Germany spring on the break, and they eventually create a chance. Now Gross is on the ball at this point in time. Look at how many players are back, have sprinted back to get into position. There have been so many players sprinting back to get into position. Shaw again, you can see he's trying to track Kimmich, and Trippier has his man over on the right hand side. Everyone's in position. The game was very, very rigid. It was extremely rigid, right? And I want to show you something else, and I want to show you how Germany tried to break England down. England were not very good in the first 30 minutes, and there was, the first 10 minutes, should I say, not 30, 10 minutes, and there was a reason. The reason was because Germany won the ball so many times in the first 10 minutes because of England's nerves. Now you can see Goretzka's on the ball. Germany also tried to do a thing where they played the ball through the middle to make Werner chase onto them, and occasionally it worked out, but on this occasion it dribbles out to Pickford, and Pickford sweeps it up. But it was a warning sign for England because Germany did get in a few times, and they had chances of their own. It was something that England had to adapt to throughout the game. As we can see here, another still image. Goretzka, this is what I love about what Germany did and their midfielders did at times. Now you can see he's got the ball. The only way to turn England around was to create midfield runs, to turn their midfield around. And Goretzka essentially lays it off to Muller, and Muller holds the ball up. You can see again their wing backs are getting forward, especially Gosens on the left hand side. Muller holds the ball up, and Goretzka makes a run. And what's really important is John Stones, because he's been dragged out to Muller. He makes a run, he leaves the space, and Goretzka goes in behind. This is why England struggled so badly, because they weren't familiar with how this was working, and holes were being left. And essentially, Goretzka gets a foul at the end of it, which was brilliant from him. Again, something for England to worry about in the first 10 minutes. I was very, very worried, right? Germany get a free kick and it goes over the bar at this point in time. Not too much happens after this, but England weathered the storm. It was something that England had to learn how to deal with. Now, as you can see, 60 minutes on the clock, second half. One thing, things was too stale. Something needed to change, so as you can see, the ball goes out to Trippier. You can see Kyle Walker's now trying to make an overlapping run. He's almost going out to the ball, and I'll just show it again if I can now. So I'll put another still image up now, and essentially Kyle Walker overlaps Trippier, and this is brilliant. This is what we want, because it makes the wing back think, I can't go out and just mark Trippier. So it creates space for Trippier because Walker's taking the run, or taking Gosens away. It allows Trippier to open up and cross the ball. Now it's not a great cross, it doesn't really materialise, but I started to see some tactical changes and some impetus from England at this point screen a still is of Raheem Sterling around 3 players. Now, Raheem Sterling manages to dribble out of this situation. This is brilliant. This is where I started to feel a lot more confident about England, because the game was still very cagey, it was still very tight, it was still up for grabs, but Raheem Sterling essentially dribbles the ball. And Grealish at this point in time, I've been saying for how long about Grealish, but anyway, regardless of what I say, it doesn't matter. Raheem Sterling does really well, bounces it into Kane, and Kane at this point in time, as I said, he needs to be in the striker position. He lays it off to Grealish, right? Grealish is a player that attracts players, right? So at this point in time, Grealish has the ball, he has an option, or the most obvious option, and he has to put a perfect weight on it. He has to do everything for sure to just run onto it and hit it. Now at this point in time, Germany's defenders are dragged all over the place. This is the brilliance of what Raheem Sterling does, is he dragged Rudiger all over the shot because he beat a man in the press before. Rudiger's now out of position. Now the ball goes into Shaw, and as you can see, Rudiger's out of position. Shaw, Grealish put a nice ball into Shaw's path. And Sterling almost has to run onto it, but it creates space because of what Sterling did before. This was at this point I was confident that something would happen because Germany's defence were all over the place, and that was credit to some of the individual brilliance of the England side. And as you can see, Shaw puts a brilliant ball in. They don't have enough defenders at the back to close Raheem Sterling down, and Raheem Sterling scores the goal. This is how England broke down Germany. At this point I was confident because England were almost seeing the patterns of play, and it was like, okay, we actually need to go and beat players, we need to beat a press, we need to drag players out of position. Raheem Sterling did that very well, and I have to credit that to him, and I also have to credit Gareth Southgate for the tactical switch to move Raheem to the right as well and bring Grealish on. At this point in time it's 1-0, England are up, Shaw wins the ball. Germany were trying to go forward, but Shaw intercepts the ball, he wins it, and at this point there is a numerical advantage. England can go forward and cause a lot of problems. As you can see, Raheem Sterling, he's in front of his wing back and on the blind side of Rudiger, brilliant positioning. Harry Kane is making a run, Luke Shaw is attracting Hummels, he lays it off to Jack Grealish. As we can see, again, Germany's defence is all over the place. This is how England won the game, by dragging Germany's players out of position, creating some impetus. Jack Grealish puts in a beautiful ball for Harry Kane, and Harry Kane scores the goal, 2-0. Brilliant play from the England players. From also Gareth Southgate, he needs to get his flowers because he did bring Grealish on. He should have started him, but he did at least bring him on. And there was something at least to hold on to, earlier in the game, and also to bring off the bench. So we have to give Gareth Southgate credit in this instance. Okay, so having a look at the potential lineup versus Ukraine. This is very interesting. What is Gareth Southgate going to go with? This is what I predict that he'll go with. I think there might be a few changes because Gareth Southgate sometimes in his team selections is very unpredictable. But I think he's going to go for back four: Shaw, Maguire, Stones and Walker. Potentially we might see a Reece James at right back. I think he's still going to stick with the Rice and Phillips partnership in midfield because it's kind of working. It's not a bad partnership in the slightest. I think, in my opinion, he has to go with Grealish. Grealish breaks down low blocks, and Ukraine are going to sit really deep. I think Saka might play as well. Sterling and Kane are definitely going to play. Saka, maybe you could put a Sancho in there, but I don't see him doing that. Anyway, let me know what